your motives gain. One move forward's all it takes, so things won't look the same. Locked inside your sinister gate.
David Rees was the vocalist on Accept's 1989 album Eat the Heat, and then with Bangalore Choir released the album On Target in 1992, including a song they co-wrote with John Bon Jovi and Aldo Nova. And so the battle with grunge was on. The album's cadence and metaphor followed in 2010 and 2012 respectively, and these, along with the live at Firefest performance, have been packed up into All or Nothing, the complete studio albums collection. David, welcome to Metal Talk.
Thank you for having me. Good day.
Cool. So coming from Accept, you were pretty hot stuff rolling into the 90s. Can you remember how it was getting Bangalore Choir together, writing music and getting that record deal?
Vividly. It's no secret I was fired from Accept. And I said, all right, I'm going to show you. So I went to Colorado, said hello to my family for a few days, jumped in a van and went to LA with the I guess the hot tale that I wasn't Accept and people knew me finally. And I formed a group with a drummer and a guy named John Kirk, who was the rhythm guitar player. And he had offered Kurt Mitchell on lead guitar because they played with Razormaid in Reno. Kurt showed up and blew my mind. I mean, ridiculous. And then a boy by the name of Danny Greenberg on bass. So in LA, it's typically you play about once a month. After 9 shows in that city, I was offered a deal from every major label around. And I remember I went to see Schenker and Macaulay at the Palace. Herman Rarebell had invited me to join the Scorpions. So I went there. We all went back behind the building, went up the back stairs. And as I was going, Kevin Moran from Giant Warner Brothers said, hey, there's a buzz going on with Bangalore. What's going on? I said, make an offer. I'm going to take so-and-so. And he said, be in my office in the morning. I mean, it was that fast. I mean, 9 months.
Wow.
Yeah. It was insane.
Impressive. I mean, you had Doing the Dance was the song written with John Bon Jovi and Aldo Nova. Loaded Gun was the single with Ricky Phillips from Styx involved. Yep. You had some great support at this point from management and record company.
Oh, God, everything. We had Howard Kaufman, of course, Whitesnake fame, Fleetwood Mac, Stevie Nicks, John Waite, Don Henley. The package was thrown into a box because while we were doing the demos, our personal manager's name was Glenn Parrish. We were going to Stevie Nicks' house and recording in her home studio, which was like an off the kind of gangway butler's quarters, because her monitor man, Lance Crevet, built her a studio where she could work. And, Stevie would work, very rarely. So, he said, can I bring the guys in? She said, yeah, use it, make the studio work. So we were really lucky. I mean, everything was laid in our lap, And
you even had Max Norman producing, him of Diary of a Madman fame. I read that you were not really happy with the production that he did.
It wasn't as much me. It was Curtis, the guitar player, because he's more of a sound nerd than I am. I mean, I know when something feels good or, sounds kind of okay, and I'm happy. But he kind of went off the rails with Max's mixes and begged me to go to the label and said, let's remix the album. And they only agreed to remix the 4 singles. So the sad part about On Target is you have, Angel in Black, Loaded Gun, I forget what other 2, remixed by Jim Barton from Queensryche, and then Max is on the rest of the record. But you're in over $1 million on the production, so they're not going to start throwing out other checks until the album's out. So it's regretful. I think Max is a great producer. I mean, that was Curtis's call.
The version of On Target that's on the new package, is that a remix or is that the original?
It was remastered before, and Giles Lavery at Global Rock is the one that had the idea. he conceived the 3-package deal, kind of a resurgent, get it out there. And then I said, why don't we throw Live at Firefest in there too? Because, you know, those guys who recorded that show, we had gotten 3 original members for that gig, and I hadn't seen them for 19 years.
Wow.
The irony of Bangalore Choir was when grunge took over, UK and Europe really didn't get the side effect until a year or so later. Had I known that the album was doing so well over here, I would have jumped on a plane and we could have gypsied it like that's what we were used to, sleeping on couches and floors in shitty hotels, and continued the legacy of the band for a few years. But we were told by Kaufman and Irving Azoff, get a day job. There's a new kid in town called Seattle, and it's over, you know.
Yeah, it's a shame. It was a weird time. So
yeah,
I listened to all 3 CDs. Yeah, for the first time on a 5-hour round trip in the car. Yeah, and I was totally sucked in right from the opening track, Angel in Black. Yeah, and you got songs like If the Good Die Young. It's amazing, and with great up-tempo songs like All or Nothing. You know, I mean, that I'm sure David Coverdale and John Sykes would have wished they had written a song as classy as that.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah, go.
Funny story about that album with Howard Kaufman. The breakout for Bangalore Choir was Slip of the Tongue opening for Whitesnake in Europe. And right. I believe there were 40 shows planned with Steve Vai and Vandenberg and Asia. And when Coverdale heard my voice, he called and complained to Kaufman, I don't want that guy on the tour.
Wow.
And it devastated us because, you know, that was the big breakout. Yeah. And Kaufman looked me in the eyes. He goes, well, if old DC is, you know, a little nervous about you, it's a compliment. I go, how in God's name is that a compliment? I just got kicked off a tour that I've been planning for my whole life. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it ripped our hearts out. I mean, Coverdale said, nope, we'll use European bands.
Wow. Wow.
Why?
Yeah. It was a weird time, yeah. So after I'd listened to all 3 CDs sort of 2 or 3 times, yeah, and I was kind of thinking about it, yeah, it kind of filled me with sadness in some way. Personally, for me, the 90s was a miserable time for music, yeah. I got into the habit of buying CDs, yeah, so I ended up buying CDs that I'd already owned on vinyl. And I wasn't discovering anything new, yeah, and it probably took me about 20 years to recover from that. You know, the stock in the local shops was diabolical. Yeah, I'd stopped reading Kerrang, Nirvana. Everyone was talking about Nirvana. I thought they had 2 or 3 good songs. I mean, I think if I'd known about On Target at the time, I would have been all over it. Yeah, I mean, your vocal on Slipping Away is just tremendous. Yeah, and it's got these amazing guitars and a fantastic up rhythm, upbeat, positive rhythm. Yeah, I would have been all over that.
I'll attribute it to, you know, Good Die Young and Slipping Away were John Kirk songs that we wrote. I think I had the title and a couple of lines and I just kind of hummed it to him. And then the next day he brought me a tablet piece of paper and it scribbled out some words and we recorded the song the next day and Slipping Away. John is not as technically efficient as Curtis as a guitarist, but a better songwriter. He's really got that hook magic in his head, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it was a team. It was a great team, wasn't it?
Yeah.
On Target sold well initially. You went on tour with Lynch Mob. At that time, you must have thought the future was looking bright, but ultimately the record company pulled the plug.
Yeah, I mean, literally, I think it was the Lynch Mob tour and the plans for us to do the Whitesnake opening. This was like a 6 to 8 week period. We were most added to radio. I think 112 stations picked us up on Tuesday, which is Radio Day in America. Denny Rosenkrantz, who was started with Santana, called me in the office and said, we got a hit, Loaded Gun's a hit. I'm like, everybody in the band honestly hated the song. Curtis really threw his guitar across the room and said, I'm not playing this shit. And they said, you're a fool. You know, we're going to put this on the record. It was a smash. 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks of that. I mean, I think we sold about 400,000 records worldwide, but Nirvana had shipped 600,000 on their shipping day. And I think in that week period, they sold 6 million albums. They called me. I was in a meeting one day, and I think it was a day or two later, I got called in. I thought, oh, updates. It's over. We're dropping you. I mean, it was like, no, you're not. This is a joke. And they said, no, it's not a joke. You're done. I go, well, what about the budget and all this money? They said, we'll write it off. Goodbye. And I mean, it was like a ghost town in Hollywood. I mean, all my friends, Warrant, Rat, Badlands, everybody was standing around shocked. And the next thing you do is you see all these guys in flannel shirts and combat boots and army pants, as dirty as they could be, like the new phase. But I really think, if I'm not rambling too much, what happened was we kind of cut our own head off, because every frontman had blonde hair. They kind of followed the mantra of, David Lee Roth and the great guitar player. And I think kids just went, you know what? I'm tired of this. Somebody resonated, one of those Seattle bands, and it just kind of took off. And I think it happens like every 10 years. There's like a cycle.
Yep.
But the funny thing about Bangalore and Eat the Heat, 30 something years later, every show I play, people throw that on the table. Will you sign this? I bought this when it came out. One of my favorite albums. I mean, it's got legs. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, as a band, you had a break, but then the studio reunion with Andy and Kurt came with Cadence, album number 2. Was the Firefest performance before you released Cadence, or the other way around?
I believe it was the album came out before, and Kieran and the guys, Bruce Me, said, we want you to play, but we got to have a minimum of 3 original guys. And I knew that was going to be an uphill struggle because we left on bad terms. But the bass player pulled his fists out and said, I'll break your nose, Curtis, if we don't go to England. And we hadn't played. Went in the hotel room, rehearsed on boxes for drums, practice amps, ran through the set, played the show, and it smoking gig. One of the best gigs of my life.
Yeah. Oh, it sounds
Andy
amazing.
played with him. Yeah, Andy was at that gig.
It sounds amazing. Yeah, the live show Firefest. Crowd responds. You can feel it all when you're listening to the tracks. Yeah, Hands on drums. Yeah, he's a beast. I've seen him with Praying Mantis a few times, and I lived and worked in Venlo for a while, so I saw him play with some of his local bands as well. But as a whole, that live performance really captures the essence of Bangalore Choir. Yeah, classy guitar-based rock, great vocals, great songs, and a wonderful energy.
My voice, actually, thank you, but my voice was trash. I mean, I was so stressed out, all the anxiety, and I started feeling that, something's wrong, and I faked it till I made it. But what was fascinating about that gig was when the curtain dropped, we opened with Power Trippin', and people were singing that, and then we kicked into, I think, Just One Night or something, and I could hear every person singing the songs. I thought, oh my God, they know the record. And from start to finish, it was balls out. I mean, it was crazy. I love England. I love the UK.
Yeah, we've got a few problems over here at the moment, but let's not go into that.
Who doesn't?
So,
Who doesn't?
Yeah, so that's why I love the presentation of this, because you kind of consume on target. Then you've got some live stuff, So you've got the live Power Tripping, on CD1, So then you swap CDs in the car, and Power Tripping is the second song on Cadence, So I'm immediately kind of sucked into that album, It probably. It actually had me almost jumping out of my car seat. When you're driving along, it's not a great idea.
Love it. A great feeling, isn't it?
It's fantastic. I mean, the sound on Cadence, it's a lot heavier, a lot more in your face. The vocals are still great. And Wahoo City is probably one of the finest openings to an album I've heard. And it just feeds into that power tripping. It just feeds into that power tripping riff wonderfully, doesn't it?
Thank you. That's Andy Susamil, brilliant guitar player, brilliant singer, great guitar player.
And And Marta, yeah, you've got that wonderful twin lead guitar at the start. Yeah, that's just a great song.
Yeah, the funny thing about Firefest was, Andy and Curtis had never met. And downstairs at that venue, what they do is they take your amplifiers and let you play through them and keep your settings. And then they run them up as the band is playing upstairs, and they put your amp on, take the amps that were on stage downstairs for the next band. So while those two guitar players were riffing together during the day, Curtis looked at me and said, "Why did you call me? This guy does it all." Andy, and Andy said the same thing, as, "You don't need me, that guy." So we had this crowd of guitar players standing there watching them, nerds going, "What are they doing?" It was hilarious. Just a great compliment. They loved each other. It worked well.
It worked. Yeah, it's brilliant. And you got songs like "Dig Deep," yeah, "Deep Down Inside,"
Yeah.
"Show Me How Much You Can Hide." It's great. I love the bass on that. "Sweet Temptation" is just wonderful. "Heart Attack"
Thank
and
you.
"Vine," wonderfully heavy guitar-led intro, and another one of those great, well-sung melodies that you have with a big chorus. There's some wonderful songs on that album.
Thank you.
Was the production of Cadence, yeah, was that maybe how you kind of wanted On Target to sound initially? Is that more about how you thought the band should be presented?
As the interview progresses, I'll get to that. It's tough to recapture, those moments. I mean, the hunger, the vibe, and the songwriting. You got new guys in the band. It's a challenge, to say the least. You use those formulas that work so well, but they don't come across, in my opinion, as strong as On Target. I mean,
Right,
I like
okay.
Cadence. Honestly, is a better album, in my opinion, because it's the trendsetter. But I'll get to that as we keep talking what's happening right now. So
Okay. So then you came back to the third album, Metaphor. Yeah, you fancied one more go.
yeah, that was getting to the point where Curtis was starting to rear his anti-music business attitude. I mean, Curtis probably is one of the finest guitar players on the planet. And really all he cares about is going in the garage and teaching and playing shred stuff. He's anti, royalty managers telling us what to do. He's always been a pain in the ass that way, the gameplay part of it. And I respect that. But when we did the album, it was kind of, the label said, "We need another one." I think it lacked a little bit in the writing department. And you could feel it. There was kind of a bad vibe going on between everybody. It wasn't that enthusiastic. I had tried some gigs in the United States, and Curtis, he doesn't like to tour at all. He wants to stay home. So it was kind of miserable, and that kind of bled into Metaphor. There are some tracks like "Never Leave Old Joe Alone." I mean, if that's even the right title, pardon my memory loss. He wrote that guitar, and that's where he can chicken pick like no other. Me as a writer go ahead.
No, I was going to say that. I mean, there's some good songs on the album. All the Damage Done. Yeah, it just showcases how great the guitars were with your songs.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not bashing it. There's just certain elements that get created behind the scenes before you get to it, and you realize, God, my dream of bringing this thing back together it's crashing around me. You can't force somebody to go out and do it.
No, it's tough. But I mean, you've got like "Silhouettes on the Shade." That's an engrossing song. "Don't Act Surprised," great riffing, and
that's a good one. "Don't Act Surprised." I really like that one.
"Catch an Angel Falling" is beautifully epic. If the last song Bangle or Choir ever released, is "Always Be My Angel," then that's a great song, great epitaph for the band. Dual guitar opening, great vocals. Yeah, I mean, you must be proud of some of the songs on the album as well.
I am, but maybe it's just me, remembering those times, sitting in the basement at my aunt and uncle's house, writing songs, and, no replies on emails, and, more money, all that stuff. And it just is like, what am I doing? I got to have these guys to create this.
Yep.
But the more I try, the more they pull away. Andy was always forefront. He was go. But it was tough, but maybe that's my reflection on it. But you know, I'm not going to criticize the writing because I won't release something if it's total crap, you know, because I do have some credibility I try to maintain, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, Bangor Choir was hard work, wasn't it? Yeah, really challenging. Yeah, it's over 30 years since the debut album. Yeah, you're still kind of positive about the whole experience, though.
Oh yeah, I miss those guys dearly. Another thing that created a rift in Bangalore Choir was there was a band called Hurricane Alice on Atlantic Records. I grew up with those guys in the Midwest, and my personal manager managed them as well. So out of the blue, he says, "We're getting rid of your bass player and your drummer, and we're bringing in Hurricane Alice's guys." And Curtis was very close to those guys, and it really got to him. Managers don't tell the band who plays in it. And I, being the guy who was afraid to say no, played the game. And he's never forgiven me for that.
I mean, you see people like John Sykes have shunned the music industry over the way he was treated. Yeah. You know, but you've released solo albums. Yeah. Universal Language, Compromise, Resilient Heart, Cacophony of Souls, Blacklist Utopia. You've been working with Andy again. So unlike John Sykes, it obviously seems like you have the passion, and the desire and the love for music to keep performing.
Now, mind you, after the grunge, I did a thing called Circle of Silence with Greg Chase on Badlands and a few other, and Ray Luzier, who's in Korn, of course.
Yep.
My family and I, we were in LA, and you know, we had the riots, we had the Malibu fires, and the earthquake, all in like a year, and the music business had died. So my wife looked at me and said, "We're getting out of here." And I literally retired for 9 years. I didn't sing a note. I built a farm in Tennessee because I was like John Sykes, you know, I was disillusioned. Now, John made a lot more money than I ever made, and he still does. But I had just walked away, but that yearning in my heart, I didn't even have a computer on the farm. So when I did get it and I got on MySpace, a gazillion people started saying, "We thought you were dead." And all these people saying, "Hey, let's do something together," and blah, blah, blah. And that's how I kind of jumped back in the early 2000s. Kind of jumped in with my whole body. I went crazy, you know.
Power tripping is so right. Searching where this fantasy fly. Power tripping, no